So we have three individuals here today, all here for the disposal topic area. John Orchard, Prasad Nair, and Dan. Help me with your last name.
Fagnan. It's Dan Fagnan.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I just didn't want to mispronounce it.
Oh, no worries. Thanks.
So what we'll do is we'll go around. John or Prasad, I don't know if you have any slides prepared, but if you don't, I think what we really want to do is give folks an idea of what this topic area overall means, what some focus areas you all have in your program may be, so that folks can get an idea of what current research is already going on. And then we'll just open it up. It should be a pretty informal question and answer session. So I guess, John, do you want to take it away first, and then we'll go to Prasad and then Dan?
Yeah, okay. What are we going to do? My name is John Orchard. I'm representing the topic area 5, disposal research. Disposal research is part of the NE8 office, which is the spent fuel and high-level waste disposition. Our mission is to provide a sound technical basis for the safety and security of the long-term storage, transportation, and disposal of spent nuclear fuel and high-level radioactive waste. Some of our areas of interest include providing a sound technical basis for the assurance that the U.S. has multiple viable options, disposal options available when national policy is ready. We develop new technologies, models, and validation techniques to support the permanent disposal of spent nuclear fuel and high-level radioactive waste for a variety of generic repository concepts in various rock media. We identify and research generic sources of uncertainty that challenge the viability of the disposal concepts. And we are working to increase confidence in the robustness of the generic disposal concepts to reduce the impact of site-specific complexity when we get to that point. I can list some of the areas of that we're working on if you're interested. Somewhere I've got a list.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, John. Whatever information you feel like you should provide, let's do that up front, and then we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, I'm more or less repeating the presentation that I made a few weeks ago. But our areas of exploration include, well, we're looking at generic rock formations for disposal, and some of the generic rock formations are argillite, which is sandstone and shale. We're looking at crystalline rock, and we're looking at salt as a disposal geology. We're also looking generally at engineered barrier systems, which typically are bentonite. We're also looking at direct disposal of our dual-purpose canisters. The dual-purpose canisters were designed and licensed for the interim storage, dry storage of the fuel and the transportation of the fuel, but they weren't designed and licensed for the disposal. And so now we're looking at going back and evaluating them to see what it would take to direct dispose of the dual-purpose canisters. We're also doing what we call a geologic disposal safety assessment. We're doing we're constantly involved with international collaboration on disposal research with the several other countries in the world that are also working on geologic disposal. We provide technical support to underground research laboratories in various foreign countries. And we are performing inventory and waste form characteristic and performance characteristics. And those are sort of the main areas that we're involved in. And yeah, we are our solicitation or topics tended to cover that area, which if you got access to the FOA, you know what those are. So that was my presentation. I guess to say that we're NE81, also in the NE8 office is NE82, which is storage and transportation, and NE83, which is consent-based citing, and they have topic areas 6 and 7, which they will have Q&A sessions on, I think, tomorrow and Thursday. I think that's everything, unless Prasad or Dan, you want to add something?
Yeah, we are good with that. There's no, the generic research is the focus at this point because there's no site-specific information we have at this time. But we are, and like John said, in the geologic disposal analysis packages, we try to understand how these things in the reference case can work for each of these models that we are considering, and the process models and FEPs, we call it, features, events and processes that we put into the models are being considered. That's what drives most of our program, and it has to all tie in together because the research we do is not always we can finally, there's no exactness, there's so much uncertainty in data modeling, and because we are thinking of looking at these things for over 1 million years to calculate things for. So some of the approaches we use in disposal research is unique to the disposal research because there's treatment of uncertainties going all the way from different origins and time and space. So that's about all I think we have. If there are any other questions.
All right, thanks, Prasad. We'll open this up to Dan. Any additional thoughts before we open up the question and answer?
I think they covered it. We can open up the question and answer.
Okay, sounds good. So
Thanks.
What we'll do for the question and answer is raise your hand. If you'd like to talk, you can unmute yourself and your camera. So you're welcome to raise your hand, ask questions. We have from now until 5 p.m. Eastern time to entertain questions. So we'll just go until we don't have any more questions. Then we'll let our program managers end a little bit early if all the questions are finished. I do want to mention something that John did mention, which is notable for this year's funding opportunity. It's that the NE8 activities, the storage, transportation, and disposal activities have been split apart into several different scopes, and so that's something to note as you're kind of choosing which place to put this in. One notable thing is that also includes spent nuclear fuel disposition IRP scope, which is a larger $3 million opportunity on disposition, and that will have a full presentation on Thursday afternoon if you're interested in that opportunity. So just wanted to recognize kind of the expansion in the CINR of the spent nuclear fuel type topic areas as people are preparing their applications. With that, we'll open up the question and answer.
Okay, I'll get it started. Thanks, guys, for taking the time to meet with us. I guess my question is, I was looking at the FOA, and in disposal research, there's these 3 topics of interest. And one of them was improving geologic characterization through field tests. And I was just wondering if you guys had any more information on this particular topic, what you're interested in. Are these field tests associated with current experiments? You know, is there any way to sort of elaborate on that topic a little bit?
Yeah, on that, what we are trying to do is, we have been doing this generic research for a while, And that assumes that it does all the geologies around the country because there are so many formations. But then the next step would be to do site characterization studies. That means it's unique to sites. So what we are looking at, again, from a generic standpoint, we are trying to see how you can do field tests to extract, say, permeability in different places. Do you have a new technique, understanding flow through fracture in a field, how you can measure that or interpret that. So it is giving you an opportunity to help our next stage of evaluations that we may have to do once a site is identified. We need to look at different aspects of field testing. Now, we also have some work already going on, like John mentioned, in URLs, underground research with the international part of it. And they usually look at this internal to the drifts, half a mile underground and stuff, the URLs. But there is a kind of a gray area looking at the top to the bottom between that and finding out, are there any features and processes that need to be addressed. And also with that, it is site specific. So you got to keep it generic. You can't go to a site and say, these are the processes, but you can generally take those processes and see how you can either measure, test, or interpret.
Oh, great. That's very clarifying. And so these would be potentially in different geologies, and you would be interested potentially even in stuff sort of near surface. So like, for example, near surface processes that may affect boundary conditions to the repository.
Yeah, the near surface tends to be some soil type of things if you're looking at it, because there is a part of it is you're doing the biosphere modeling, some of them. So you need to know how the fauna and flora is able to transmit any radionuclides to the surface. But then we are still working at the rock, the substantially rock component of it, which is further deeper down into the where the main isolation of waste is going to take place. So we do need to find data or information that how we can, looking for new techniques probably to get the same data we've been doing conventionally. Maybe you got new ideas. That's where we would like you to look at.
Great, thank you. I'll stand down and let other folks talk. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Baden.
Great, thank you guys so much. Sorry, go ahead, John.
Oh, well, we have a question from Paula. I just wanted to make sure that was acknowledged.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead, Paolo. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. In the description of one of the topic area, there is a mention of molecular and nanoscale models that should be bridged with macro and microscale models. I was wondering if you can comment a little bit more on which kind of nano and molecular scale properties you care about, if there is any reference article that maybe is of interest or particularly important, or any kind of comment on what could be relevant for waste management.
Yeah, just to give you an example, there are a lot of studies, there are publications in these waste management conferences. So if you look at some of the studies, for instance, looking at bentonite and water filtering through different layers, you look at the geology of that part of it, and the nanoscale would be doing some molecular dynamics type of studies you might do there. But then how do you take that information and graduate it to the next level in the next scale, and then move it to the third scale and the fourth scale, get into the outer rims? Why we need that is because when we model these things, the effects of processes, we are modeling like in a GDSA, which is our geologic disposal safety analysis stuff, system analysis rather. And in that, what you do is you have to graduate all these models and how do they get to the next scale level. So in doing it at a local, smaller scale, do you lose some of the intrinsic features that need to be carried to the higher level scale? So it is a challenge. Now, there are two challenges. One, actually the physics behind it. The second part of it is whether you have adequate computer capabilities to model those specific regimes. Because if you get smaller in one dimension and bigger in this thing, you'll have mismatches, and it takes a lot of time to converge, and each realization gets complicated. So we do some, another thing you didn't ask is the surrogate modeling stuff, which is part of that stuff. So that's where it is. We are looking for ideas that you can move from one scale to the other as transparently as possible. There's no absolutes, but because you want to retain the features of what you studied.
I see. Thank you.
We have another hand raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Basa, Daniel, and John. And I would like to ask whether the radioisotope absorptions to the engineer barrier be a priority focus for this topic area?
Radioisotopes, sorption studies?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of sorption studies going on right now with within the bentonite area, and with the plutonium or uranium sorption stuff. Now, you might want to look at what has been done so far before you can propose some things. So I would suggest to do a literature search to see what's been done in this area. So we do also sometimes in our modeling use iodine 129 as an isotope, as a tracer type of thing. So if you look at looking for a tracer, some isotope of some material is also there. But make sure you scan the literature and don't propose same things that have been done. We've been doing some of this for over 15, 20 years too. So just a caution.
Yeah, you would want your proposal to either improve the engineered barrier in a substantial way or provide some insight that improves the modeling for the performance assessment.
Thank you, Basa, Daniel. I got a follow-up question that will near-field radiations also be a subject?
Well, not quite the way we see. If the radiation is changing some of the geochemistry in the area, that might be of influence. But the radiation by itself does not do us any. From a safety point of view, it's underground and sequestered away. So there's no human safety stuff. We handle it and close the repository. Once it's closed, it's only anything to do with changing any, the water chemistry or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I doubt whether it's a strong component.
Thank you so much.
We have a question in the chat. It says safety during operation is not of interest. Is that correct?
What's that? I didn't hear that again. Would you repeat that, please?
Of course. It says safety during operation is not of interest. Is that correct?
Yeah, during operation, it's a separate issue. It's surface technology and other things that we do. But here we are primarily looking at long-term isolation of waste, not the safety issues related to handling of waste and stuff like that. Those are still done in commercial space already, and unless there is a new reason to do something, it will be when a design is put out and when we look at it for the handling facilities and things like that. But no, not for this program, this deep disposal part of it.
Good afternoon. Thanks for this opportunity to ask questions. I'm interested on a follow-up on the issue of dual-purpose canisters research. Is that topic better suited for this topic area, or would be better for storage as transportation in topic area 6?
Well, it's got a couple of facets to it that's important for disposal, is the criticality issues we are dealing with it. So the long-term part of it is filling the disposal. See, these DPCs are already licensed for storage and transportation, okay? And that's why it's called dual purpose. The only part of the storage and transportation aspect would be how long you can keep it safe, over and beyond the licensing period. My assumption is that we will still be meeting part 71 at every time and relicense it as we go on in the facility. With regard to the disposal part of it, we are considering different pouring in something into the canister to hold the make it rigid so that they don't separate out or introduce poison in the material in the canisters. And we're looking at different things, how the heat from these, because these direct disposal of these canisters, because they contain a lot more fuel and they exude more heat energy. And so the heat output within the repository has to be considered, and the weight. So if, for instance, in salt, it may have a settling effect, and of course what it does to the high temperatures on salt. So then, whereas in crystalline and others, then how do you handle it, in terms of not handling per se, but getting it to a place and monitoring it and things like that. So we are trying to reduce the possibility of criticality in these things. And that's been a focus of some of the work we've been doing in the past.
Hey, Drew, what's the this is John Orchard. What's the schedule for submitting the proposals?
So June 20, sorry, Drew had to step out really quickly, but June 26 is the pre-application due date.
Okay.
And I think CC put the schedule in the chat too. If you look there, FOAs and deadlines for the first rounds of things, you can take a look at that.